freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 461 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is Gun Rights 101, and our guest is Tyler Yzaguirre. Tyler is the president and founder of the Second Amendment Institute, a national nonprofit organization that focuses on educational advocacy for the Second Amendment. Tyler is also the author of Gun Rights 101.
Imagine where I got that title from, Tyler. Welcome back to the show.
Happy to be back as always. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. We take too long in between catching up with all that you are doing because you are one of the busiest guys in Second Amendment advocacy.
Tyler, what is that Second Amendment Institute?
Right. So I started SAI back in 2016 with the mission to educate, advocate, and empower individuals to be effectively mobilized for the Second Amendment. That basically just means that, we're trying to be one of the newer groups on the playing field, focusing on the younger generations, the millennials. And we mostly do some federal lawsuits that other gun rights groups don't do. And we also focus on just national grassroots or events and advocacy just to educate people in the middle of the road about their gun rights.
That's awesome because, a lot of the younger generation, they're not really concerned about our rights.
No, they're not. And a lot of them have misconceptions from watching news sources like Communist News Network, CNN, and MSNBC, and all these other garbage channels where they see, there's been 1,000 mass shootings this year. And you get that from like the Gifford Center and the Brady Campaign Foundation, and they just lie. And it's like, no, that's not the truth. We got to look at the real numbers, the real facts. And then that's where we can start the conversation. And that's where we can change the hearts and minds of the younger generations who are anti-gun because they're, poisoned from these fake news sources and bring them over to our side.
Yeah, I think that the mass shootings probably on the communist countries from their own government, right? That's where the mass shootings are.
Yeah, so the FBI defines a mass shooting as 4 or more killed in one contained instance, including or not including the shooter themselves. So if we actually go by that definition, there's actually been less than 50 or even less this year so far, whereas the far left gun grab organizations will be like, there's a mass shooting every day, and they say that's like one person gets shot because they make their own definitions, was just ridiculous.
It's so true. And when you do, and the other side that hates our gun rights, they are the ones that are always trying to make those comparisons between other countries and the United States. And, the statistics are so hard to even gel together. Our good friend, Dr. John Lott, talks about this all the time, that whatever parameters you put in is how you're going to spit out a number. And there just really isn't a comparison. And the other thing is that doesn't get talked about enough is that every single life that is saved because there was a responsibly armed citizen. I mean, the number is somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 million times every single year. Lives are saved. And it's not even just one life per incident, right? Lives were saved because of the presence of a responsibly armed citizen.
Right. And Amy Swearer, another good friend of ours at Heritage Foundation, does a really good annual, storytelling of if you go on heritage.org, they have a map of, major stories covered by the actual news, local news channels of a gun saving a life in the hands of a responsibly armed citizen. And, that comes up to a couple thousand a year just from that alone that the news is covering. So that 2.5 million is actually quite believable, because how many stories go unreported in the news that are just circulated around in organizations like ours? So that's
Absolutely.
something that needs to be quantified better.
Absolutely. And so getting back to the SAI, the cool kids call it the SAI, right? Second Amendment Institute.
Mhm.
Reaching out to that next generation, nothing could be more important. And you yourself are of that next generation from ours. And so we are always encouraged by how you are using the organization and your time and even your book, which I want to talk about, to reach out to that demographic and help them, have the scales fall from their eyes and have them be able to see the truth that, the more responsible yarn citizens that we have, the better off everyone is, the safer we all are. And helping you do that work is a pretty powerhouse level board of supervisors. So, talk to us a little bit about who you have amassed together as your board of supervisors.
Well, Cheryl, it's been a roller coaster for me, having been involved for several years now. Well, right now, Colonel Alan West is the chairman of our board for about 2 years now. So that's helped a lot, just gaining notoriety and getting our names out there. And people go, "Oh, I've never heard of SCI." And I think, well, Alan West, the chairman of our board. Oh, I know Alan. I love Alan West. So that's been a huge help. You of course have been on the board for several years now.
Love it.
We have
Honored.
Dania Vizzi, who is just at the Olympics and placed number 11 or 12 in women's skeet. So the 11th or 12th best trap and skeet shooter in the world for women, which is pretty cool, I think. George
Yes.
Lyon, who's my attorney and representing me in 3 cases against the District of Chaos, well, DC. So we have a pretty diverse board of directors. Colonel Rob Manis from Louisiana, who is a colonel in the Air Force, retired now, and he's been with us since 2018, 2019. So we have a lot of diverse board members, and Carrie Ann Enclair from Massachusetts, I believe, who is the
Yes.
Massachusetts State Director for Women for Gun Rights, previously DC Project.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to get Di Muller for years, but she's way too busy. So I've built out a pretty diverse board of directors. Each member has their own strengths, their own connections. You have Gun Freedom Radio, you have Easy Firearm Auctions, and then of course you participate. You're one of the higher participating board members, and you'll actually be out here in September with us. So there's a lot going on.
Absolutely. And I think that level of diversity that you've brought together really gives us a good tension of ideas and trying to help move the messages forward. You've got a multitude of different generations and life experiences. And, just that the idea that Colonel Allen West, he is that calm, measured voice of reason. I was so excited when I saw him come on, and a newer board member that we're hoping to get a little bit more active as time goes on is Yehuda Reamer. He goes by the Pew Pew Jew, and he has quite a following in the Jewish community, which is not always very connected to their right to keep and bear arms.
Right. They're not, but they are one of the fastest growing demographics of gun owners, that and single women, just because of all the attacks we're seeing on the Jewish community and the attacks on single moms, and even from divorced families. Having that deterrent for self-defense is the difference between life or death, and you got to know what you're doing with it. I carry on the daily here in the district, and I've been licensed to do so since 2021. And you got to train with your firearm, know what you're doing. It's the last line of defense. I don't say necessarily you have to retreat, because you might get shot in the back or stabbed in the back or something, but you should have mace and a firearm, or something as easy as like a Cubitan and a firearm, just for those layers of self-defense. But yes, the Jewish community, I would love to get Yehuda more involved. I know he's busy doing a million things. He's got a bunch of books out there. He was just at Goals with you guys. So I know he's all over the place doing his many things, as are all our board members. And I'm sure we can get him more involved once I stop hosting events on Friday, which is his Shabbat. Let's start changing the days for that.
It's one of those things that we don't think about, that every, Friday night to Saturday night, he is very devout and he is on, completely away from any communication. And so, yeah, one of those little adjustments that can really open a door to a whole community, having somebody else's experience makes all the difference. So anyway, I just think you've done an amazing job of attracting some serious talent, and I've been completely excited and honored to be along for the ride, really, and just kind of watch this whole thing grow and unfold.
Well, Tyler, you've been
Well,
working on, I'm sorry, Tyler, you've been working on, you mentioned lawsuits. What are you working on right now?
Right. So we have 3 lawsuits that SAI is a co-plaintiff in, and 2 that I'm a co-plaintiff in, and 1 that I'm the plaintiff of. So I'll keep the legal jargon really short and to the point, because it's taken me almost 10 years of doing this to understand it. And George Lyon's been a huge help with that. So the first one is Angelo VDC, Gregory T. Angelo, and that's suing the district for their ban of concealed carry on the metro, even though you can conceal carry on the metro in Virginia and Maryland, but God forbid you do it in the district. And they all connect, by the way, state to state. That one was heard by a federal judge here in the District of Columbia, and he denied it and said we didn't have standing to sue, which is, don't get me started on that. And we've amended the complaint, and we're waiting to hear back for a scheduled date. The second one, the biggest one so far, is Hansen v.
Let me have you pause there for a second. So standing to sue, right? You need standing. So you have to have somebody that can say, my life has been impacted. I have been harmed in some way.
Irreparable harm is the standard for standing to sue.
And so every single person that they've disenfranchised to say you cannot protect yourself with the tool of your choice on the metro, truly, it could be the plaintiff, I think, right? They should have standing. But apparently the courts are like super picky choosy on what they will recognize as causing irreparable harm to them. But are you saying Gregory T. Angelo is the plaintiff in that?
He's the lead plaintiff, and there's 3 co-plaintiffs, and I'm one of them.
Okay.
And we all have valid concealed carry license for DC, yet we're not allowed to exercise that license on the metro. I can carry on the metro in Virginia and Maryland, but I cannot carry on the metro in the District of Columbia. So I mean,
so what happens when you're in Virginia and you come into DC? Do they have lock boxes for you, or do they have armed guards for every person that's on the metro?
Seriously,
that's the funny thing. You can legally transport your firearm on the DC metro, but to do that, once I get to the border between Virginia and DC, let's say on the metro, I have to get off the metro. Now I'm in the metro station. I have to take out my firearm, put it in a lockbox. That right there is technically a felony in itself, because you're still on interstate travel. And remember, DC police, Virginia police don't have authority over the metro stations. It's the WMATA, which is the Combined Association of Police for the metro system, and have tri-jurisdiction throughout Virginia, Maryland, DC. It's sort of like your highway patrolmen who, if you're crossing from the Delaware Highway to the Jersey Highway, they have authority jurisdiction in both states. So it's technically, quasi state federal. So to take it out and put it in a lockbox in itself is a crime. And then getting off the metro into Maryland, taking it out of the lockbox back on your person, that's another crime. So that's irreparable harm right there. And the judge basically said, well, since none of your plaintiffs have been arrested, and I don't know of any to this date who have been arrested for carrying on the DC metro with a concealed carry license, you don't have standing to sue, nor does anyone else.
You have to break the law first. Somebody has to break the law.
And of course it was an Obama appointed judge, so I'm not surprised. So that's crazy to me. Then Hansen v. DC, that's the one where we're challenging DC's ban of large capacity magazines. Now this one I think has a pretty good chance to win, because we were already heard. So we went up the next level. We're now at the U.S. Court of Appeals, Third Circuit. Sorry. So there's 12 circuit United States Court of Appeals in the country. We're in the third, and it's a 3-panel judge, an Obama appointee, a Reagan appointee, and a Trump appointee. So I think we'll get a 2-3 decision out of that, because the District of Columbia's only argument was, well, we think people are most likely going to use their LCMs to commit crimes, which is completely against the statistics out there. And there's 400 million in legal circulation, according to the National Shooting Sports Foundation. So common use, and not for, it's for traditionally legal purposes such as self-defense. So the district was unable to counter those arguments, and it was pretty weak. I think we even may swing the Obama appointed judge and get a 3-flat ruling in our favor. And I hope DC challenges us, because then we go to the Supreme Court of the United States.
And so when even the phraseology of large capacity, I think what they really meant was standard capacity, right?
Yes. Yes.
So-
Your standard handgun is sold with a 10+1, well, a 10-round magazine. So that, according to the District of Columbia, is a large capacity magazine. So they are prohibiting standard magazines that come with handguns when you buy one in the District of Columbia. And I've bought 3 now in DC so far.
Okay, interesting. This will be really interesting to see how that plays out, because you don't know how many rounds you're going to need. You don't know how many assailants are, threatening your life until you know it, right? And if the police, are the police held to the same standard? And if not, then, they are supposed to be the most trained and prepared. So, let's just make the playing field equal.
Well, if you come out into DC and see the cops, I don't think they're chasing anybody. It's funny, actually. They were issuing their officers ghost guns under the DC law. And that's the last case that George Lyon and Dick Heller challenged. And DC was like, well, we don't want to go to court, so we're just going to change the rules for everybody. So that was a victory on the ghost gun issue last year.
So what do you mean by a ghost gun that the police?
Is it scary?
80%.
I know. Boo.
80% polymer. Yep. Or more. So they were issuing their officers under that definition, a ghost gun. And just completely wild.
Yes.
But there's no crime. There's no crime in DC, is there? I mean, they
No, of
have
course
so many gun laws. There's no crime. So why are they making more laws?
Yikes.
Yeah, of course. No, of course not. And then the third and final case, and my personal favorite, because I'm not biased whatsoever, is Yzaguirre VDC.
Oh,
I've heard that name before.
Yeah. Which is
Go ahead.
challenging DC's so-called assault weapons ban. And we're waiting for a date for the preliminary hearing.
Okay.
And the judge, an Obama appointed judge, of course, but not as bad as the one from Angelo VDC, which is the concealed carry on the Metro case.
Okay.
He issued that we're going to wait until either 9/1 to schedule a date, or until a ruling from Hansen comes down, which is at the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. And we believe that we'll get a ruling in Hansen this August. And then we'll get scheduled for the so-called assault weapons ban challenge hearing.
So you being the Yzaguirre of Yzaguirre VDC, tell folks, so how do you show the court that you've been harmed?
Well, when I was a resident of Delaware, I purchased an a 5.56 223 AR-15, and then I went to register it in the District of Columbia, and it was a pretty funny experience, actually. Once you file enough lawsuits against the district, the police start to recognize who you are.
Go figure.
They actually allowed Heller to register a firearm that falls under the classification of assault weapon in the district, because they didn't want to deal with another lawsuit from him.
That's fantastic.
And they denied me, thankfully. As much as I would have loved to have my AR in DC, they denied me. I had to bring in a picture of it with the serial number and proof of purchase from the Virginia Cabela's a couple years ago. I had everything in order. I was ready for them. And it came back with a denial. So the denial alone is hard, because I can't bring my firearm that I legally purchased into the district for legal purposes under Heller and Bruin.
Right.
So we're gonna, we had a press conference at SCOTUS and at the end of June. The Daily Wire and Daily Caller have covered the lawsuit. A couple other outlets have covered it, not so friendly ones, some friendly ones, and the Epoch Times has covered it. So I'm hoping we build up enough steam to get some more national interest on it, because we're at the center of our country, the center of democracy for the free world, and we can't defend ourselves with commonly owned firearms for lawful purposes.
Right.
Well, I'm confused, Tyler, because you had AR-15, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not an assault weapon. It's
Yeah.
not. What are they thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It's kind of like
they
those
make up
large
definitions.
capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, those large. So were you basically able to show that there was favoritism, or, one person was allowed and now you're being disallowed? Is that sort of where the Dick Heller piece comes in?
No, it's just a fun little tidbit I like to tell people. We're not going to focus on that because there's no precedent there. That was just decided by DCPD.
Gotcha.
They just, I don't know what their rationale was. They just mailed him a registration card. He had no idea. So we're going to focus more on Heller and Bruin on those cases under in common use. So we're going to use the common use test, and the dangerous and unusual test is the standard. And while by their very nature firearms are dangerous, they're not unusual because they are in common use. So it fails that test. So I think we have pretty good legs to stand on for this case, especially after seeing a similar case come up through Illinois, and even a California federal judge saying an assault weapons ban is unconstitutional. And then just a couple weeks ago, we had a New Jersey federal judge say that a ban on AR-15s alone was unconstitutional. And in his brief, he said, I may not agree with this, but the Supreme Court has left me with no choice and I have to abide by the law. Like, wow, that's huge right there. So we're going to use all these as examples in our case. And George Lyon and Ed Wenger are very good attorneys, seasoned 2A attorneys. I have full confidence in both of them.
Well, to me, it's like one of the issues that I have with government regulation is when sheriff's department or police departments get to decide who gets to have what, they're inconsistent. If they let Heller have one and not you one, so what about their best friend, or what about a guy they don't like that really has a right to have? Well, we all have rights to have them. So one of the problems is the inconsistency with the laws, with the people.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what the police departments and court systems are known for, is inconsistency.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
true. So listen, I've been hearing you throughout this talk about, these appointed judges, and that we get an idea about which way one of these judges might rule or interpret the law based on who appointed them. So even though the Second Amendment is supposed to be completely nonpartisan, justice is supposed to be completely blind, right? We are old enough and smart enough to know that it does matter who is in office and what their attitude is towards our individual rights and what judges they appoint. So taking all of that into consideration, even though the Second Amendment Institute, the SAI, is not, out there, supporting or endorsing candidates, you've got to have some sense or some idea of how the future is going to play out, depending on how the next election goes. What are you, being in that heart of our nation, supposedly, right? DC, the swamp. Do we have a swampy heart? That's a terrible thing to think.
Just make t-shirts of that.
Seriously. How do you see the upcoming election shaping the future of gun rights? Because we have two very divergent paths, even if you consider RFK, who's supposed to be sort of that middle piece. He still is not very friendly to our Bill of Rights.
No, RFK is a sellout. He even said he would, take a spot in the admin under Harris to bow out and shift his voters to her. Look, Harris has come out. Her and Biden established the, gun violence prevention office in the White House, which is unprecedented. So we actually know where they're leaning. And, Kamala Harris has come out saying, I would do a mandatory gun buyback for all assault weapons. And Tim Walz is right behind her on that. I mean, the guy's, first of all, a complete weirdo. And then on top of that, they're super pro gun control. I mean, the guy comes out on stage kicking his foot like he's a rocket. I'm like, what is this guy doing? So
Wow.
both
And he's
both
a
Harris,
liar extraordinaire.
he is. It's terrible. So they're very, very anti, gun friendly. Whereas Trump, on the other hand, he's not going to touch it. He'll back our rights to defend ourselves. I think now after they try to kill him and assassinate him, the fact that he's come out stronger in defense of the 2A, and just goes to show you, if you're a single issue voter, Trump's the answer. If he doesn't win in November, the courts are going to be flooded with with cases for gun rights. It's going to be backed up. So I'm just glad that he got us the 3 justices that are pro 2A. And I'm hoping that if it comes down to a Harris presidency, that at least we have those justices in our corner, and the federal judges that Trump appointed, 400 something while he was in office.
Absolutely. I mean, Trump, while he was in office, was certainly not perfect on the 2A, but the fact that he gave us that backstop by appointing, nominating the justices that helped us get Bruin, helped us defeat bump stocks. I mean, that I think actually outweighs what happened on the front end. And so I hope people can really see that and appreciate that, that truly we have one path politically towards Marxism. There's no other way you can paint the Harris Walz team. And we have another path towards our rights being upheld and protected and freedom being at the forefront. To me, it's as clear as day. And that the only tricky piece for me, I think, is if RFK might be able to sway some votes. He's got to be taking votes from the Democrats, got to be, because it's that middle piece. But I'm hoping that people aren't tricked or fooled or saying, well, at least he doesn't do mean tweets. So, if he's not stealing off votes from the Republicans.
Yeah. I mean, if Trump can meet with him one-on-one and try to, meet somewhere in the middle of the road, and I would think, RFK would be much better off with Trump. Now we have Tulsi Gabbard meeting with Trump to prep him for the Harris debate if she shows up. So, and I'm hoping Tulsi Gabbard gets a spot in the administration. I'm rooting for SecDef. She can go up there and clean up house. That or Secretary of State. So, and I think it would help Trump significantly too with middle class women. And just because of Tulsi's, what Tulsi has done and where she stands. So I think if we want to keep our 2A rights, we gotta get President Trump back into office. There's no doubt about it.
So Tulsi Gabbard is an interesting, she occupies an interesting space. So she was Democrat. She moved away from that. She's been very vocally pro 2A.
Correct.
To the point that SAI has just recently given her an award at one of our events. Let's talk about that.
Right. So, I mean, coming from Hawaii, you have to be super pro gun control. That's how you get into office there, unfortunately. So while she was in Congress, yeah, she, sponsored and wrote some nasty anti-2A bills. But, in the past couple of years, she's seen the light. She's still in the Army Reserve, and she's got, she's probably reaching millions of Americans a day just through her Substack, through her social media programs and profiles. And she's come out, she wrote a huge piece, like a 10-page letter. I was wrong on the 2A. Here's why we have to support it. She's come out, against the bump stock ban. She says we need to abolish the NFA. She went after Biden and Harris hard for their gun violence prevention office in the White House. She said she's an independent, but I think she's coming over to our side, so the Freedom Team.
Freedom Team, I love it.
Especially when it comes to guns. And yeah, so we have an annual 2A champion ceremony. So Lauren Bobert's been a recipient, Chip Roy's been a recipient. We've had Gabby, this year was Gabby Franco and Tulsi. And I think we just had to bring Tulsi into the spotlight and say, look, you're a newcomer, 2-3 years into the gun rights fight now. So we want to give you this award. And I'm hoping too, when she gets that position in the administration, she doesn't forget about us. So we can
Exactly.
tap into Trump and maybe do something with him. And and Di Muller was a recipient too. So that award every year we have 2 recipients, and it just honors people that either new to the scene that have done something so significant that it's created a wave, or are a lifetime fighter for the 2A. So we have that duality in the award.
Love it.
And
Absolutely.
it was a good turnout.
Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, doggone it, but we do have events, a few times throughout the year. I think almost all of them are open to the public, and we sell tickets, and people could have come and had a meet and greet with Tulsi Gabbard as she's accepting an award from us. I mean, these are a big deal, and they're right there in the heart there, either in Virginia or DC, wherever you find the venue. Talk to folks about what our different events are and what the next opportunity might be for people to come and hang out with us.
Sure, I'll keep it short, sweet, and to the point. So we always start off the year in late February with 2A legislation days on Capitol Hill, and we have our 2A happy hour reception. And we usually have a couple members of Congress come out for that. That's pretty good. Then in June, we have our 2A champion award ceremony, which is always a nice turnout. And then in September, mid-September, late September, we used to have Defending Freedom Action Summit, but we just figured that we'd be better off joining another organization with more, credentials and bigger, and putting resources into that than trying to host our own from starting up from the ground nothing. So now we're replacing it with a Constitution Day dinner. So a lot less cost on our end. We can keep ticket prices lower for people who want to come to it. So this year it's September 18th in DC. And Cheryl, I know you'll be joining us.
I will.
And then the next day, and we started this tradition last year, our annual laying of a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And to my knowledge, we are the only national gun rights group to ever have laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So this will be our second year doing it. And we usually have 2 civilians and 2 veterans or a police officer. So last year it was Colonel West and Sheriff Mike Lewis, me and one of our donors. And beautiful ceremony. You go down the stairs, past the chains, lay the wreath, they play taps. It's a great way to honor our veterans and those who have lost their lives in battle fighting for freedom. And then at the end of the year in December, we have what we started last year, our annual Christmas holiday party, which was a big success. We had Colonel West come out again for that. We had about 50-60 people. We had Chick-fil-A catered. We had, of course, open bar, because what's better than open bar as long as you're not carrying your firearm. And then those are our 4 big events a year, and we have some smaller ones scattered throughout.
So meaningful, because as we've moved into this digital age, like we're talking to each other now on opposite ends of the country through Zoom, and thankfully we have these tools, but nothing can take the place of that face-to-face interaction and meeting together and networking together in person. And so I really applaud that SAI takes that part of it so seriously. And I look forward to being out there very soon. I'm going to blink and we're in the studio right now. It's Tuesday, August 20th. And so September 18th is just a blink away. I'm looking forward to that.
It is.
Did you have anything else?
No,
Matt?
just Tyler, why don't you tell us how people can follow you?
Sure. SAInational.org. So S is in Sam, A is in Apple, I is in Igloo, the word national.org, SAInational.org. And Twitter or X is SAI National. Instagram is SAI National. Those are the best ways to get involved with what we're doing. Sign up for our newsletter, get all our information. and donate, because we love money and we need money to do what we do.
No, Tyler, I meant follow you. Like, where do you live?
No,
Just playing.
Yeah, well,
not creepy.
I've got Fort Knox in DC, so good luck.
I love it. That's
Uh,
fantastic. And I'm so glad that you mentioned the idea back when we were talking about all those different lawsuits that you had going on. I was going to say those are not cheap. It
They're not,
costs a
no.
lot of money to hold the government accountable through the law and the legal system. And we need those dollars, those $5 donations, those $100 donations. And so please help us out. The SAI is a very good investment for your donation dollar. So I'm glad you said that. Say it one more time, how people can donate.
sainational.org. And if you go to the website and go to our legal defense tab, you can actually learn about the Assault Weapons Ban Challenge. And right now, if you kick in $20-$30 for sending out legal defense challenge coins, and I think it's for $250 or more, we're sending out as a thank you an American flag that's been flown over George Washington's Mount Vernon. And it comes with a certificate of authenticity in an American flag box. And they only produce X amount per year. I think it's like 100 or 200 per year. So those are really cool to have, to put in a display box and have the certificate next to it. I mean, what's cooler than an American flag flown over the home of George Washington, our first president?
Nothing cooler than that. Every time I'm in DC, I do everything I can to fit in a visit to just go sit on the lawn. The fact that I can sit on the lawn of Mount Vernon, George Washington's home, and watch the river drift by, it's a very special place. And to have a flag that was flown over that, oh my goodness, I'm gonna be donating to that. So I want one of those flags.
Yeah, we'll be there this year. We'll be there this year.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much for all that you do, Tyler Yzaguirre of Second Amendment Institute. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Such a young guy to be doing so many things. And he started, gosh, I would say pretty close to 8 to 10 years ago, I would say. And I just really enjoy every time I interact with him, because he has such a unique view for where he has lived during this time in history. And the fact that he's got the foresight to understand that as a citizen, the government is doing things to harm us. It might be done in the name of it sounds good or it feels good, but it actually is doing harm. And for him to have named himself as a plaintiff in a lawsuit like that, I think that's very smart and very forward thinking.
That's pretty cool to think about doing that, to sue the government. Awesome.
I hate that the government needs sued, but you know who knew that the government was going to need sued? The guys that wrote this little thing, right? This Constitution.
They knew this was coming.
They knew, because they had lived it already.
Yeah.
Now, it was a different nation. It was a king. It was a tyrannical king. But
what's different than that than what's running for election right now?
Exactly. They just make up the rules. They break the rules and, keep pointing the finger at the other side, saying that we're the ones who are harming. And then they use the word democracy, which we're not a democracy, right? We're representative.
But they're not either. You don't vote. You don't nominate somebody just without going through the process.
Right.
So they're doing it. They're not a democracy. We're not a democracy.
No, a democracy. What do they say? It's two wolves trying to decide two wolves and a lamb trying to decide what we're going to have for dinner. You think the lamb has any vote in that?
That's a bad joke.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, I just
Dad
wonder,
jokes.
one of the things I should have asked Tyler is what got him started in this? What sparked his interest in our rights? Because if we could get that spark in all the young generation, then we wouldn't have the threat that we have right now.
I believe it was when he was in college. Gosh, I'm going to get this a little bit wrong, I think. But he it had something to do with campus security, campus carry. That is a good question. I'm going to have to put that on his bio, and everybody can look that up as how he started, what got him as a young person involved in this whole conversation nationally. But for today, I want to, start telling folks about the two sponsors that we have. Actually, we have a few sponsors. There's one that we never talk about. It's Attorneys on Retainer. And on our homepage, on the gunfreedomradio.com homepage, you will see, if you scroll down, Attorneys on Retainer. That is a program that it's definitely available here in Arizona and Hawaii. I'm not sure if they've opened it up to the entire nation yet, which is one of the reasons I don't talk about them all the time. But it is truly what it says. And we are clients. If we have an incident with a firearm where we have been, forced to stop the threat, that doesn't always mean that you get to walk home at the end of the day. Just walk into the sunset. No, you will be arrested. Your firearm will be confiscated by the police. And now you are in a court case, right? You need legal defense. And so we have, as a family, an attorney on retainer. I have a phone number to call. I say nothing to the police. I call this attorney and say, talk to them. It's an amazing program. It is pennies out of your wallet.
And I'd like to add that they're a sponsor, but we pay for that. This is something we
pay
decided,
for our own.
Right. We decided that we wanted to have this protection. It wasn't given to us.
No.
We pay for it, and it's very much worth the value.
Absolutely. And everybody out there who signs up, we do get a small portion to help do the work that we do. But we do pay for our own membership to Attorneys on Retainer. And also this locked in grip. This is a great product that was developed by our good friends, Shelley and Brian Hill. And it is a liquid shooting sports chalk for no slip, better traction, heightened connection, for safer and faster shooting. So everybody wants to shoot safer, right? You want to be more safe with your handgun. Yeah, you don't want to lose the good secure grip on your handgun. But especially if you're a competitor or you've got a little bit of a competitive nature and you're out on the range with your shooting buddy, you want to be faster, right? So superior locked in grip.com, lockedingrip.com. Check that out by yourself. Some and also for your shooting buddy. And then we love, as a family, anything we can do to support American made products. Why? Because it supports American jobs on American soil, right? And when you can get a high quality American made product, why not? Why would you continue to buy made in China, right? So this is your invitation for a private invitation only shopping club. It is patriothousehold.com/GFR. This shopping club is helping our family and millions of others to cut the cord on those huge conglomerates, those big box stores that use your own dollars to infringe on your freedoms, diminish your freedoms. Whereas when you go to patriothousehold.com/GFR, you are expanding freedom because they use those dollars to support another organization that conducts lawsuits on our behalf, Second Amendment Foundation. And also a little tiny piece of each dollar you spend comes to help the work we do. So whether it's laundry soap, skincare, delicious snacks, amazing beef products from roast to steaks to ground beef, you can shop online as you need items or set your order and forget it, which is what I do with my busy life. And then your order shows up on your front step. It could not be more convenient. Super high quality. We have never been unhappy with one single item we've ever purchased. For quality and convenience and shopping at this exclusive American-made product built shopping club, patriothousehold.com/GFR. All right. Thank you to our amazing guest and our amazing listeners and viewers all over the nation, all over the world, Dan. Wherever there's internet, We have people who are hungry for this content. So if you want to go and rewatch this episode with Tyler Yzaguirre, the founder of the Second Amendment Institute, sai.org, then go to YouTube, as long as they haven't kicked us off yet, to GunStreamer, to the OpsLens smartphone app. And when you go to those platforms, what do we want people to do, Dan?
Binge listens to the hot content.
We're not there yet, but we
want them
do.
to. Do we not want them
We
to?
do. We want them to binge watch to their heart's content, right? Because these are video platforms. But we want you to hit the subscribe button. We want you to like it. We want you to share it. That's important. And we want you to hit the notifications button. And here's why. Because every single one of those actions hits a different algorithm, and it tells those platforms that you value these subject matter experts that we bring to your airwaves, to your living room, to your smartphone, wherever you are watching these videos. I want to tell you, our Facebook page, the Gun Freedom Radio Facebook page, we are nearing our 10th anniversary of doing Gun Freedom Radio, whether it was a tertiary radio station or it was an online radio station for a while that we were on, and now we are self-published as a podcast. Nearly 10 years. We have been stuck on Facebook at 5.1K followers for, I'm saying, 4 years now.
Wow.
Is that even reasonable? I mean, does that even pass the smell test? It doesn't. I cannot believe that we don't have more people who are interested and want to like our page and want to share our page. And even if we had lost a few, the fact that we've stayed at 5.1 for 4 years, I go speak nationally, right? We bring on some amazing guests that have huge followings themselves, and none of their followers are joining our Facebook page. So clearly there's some shadow banning. Clearly there's some muting. Clearly there's some censorship going on. And so I would love to see, if there was more of a concerted effort out there to like, share, subscribe, and click the notifications. Let's see if we can bump those algorithms just a little bit. And if you want to listen only, right, because maybe you're out on a long bike ride, so you can't have the screen in front of you, then you're going to go to our website, gunfreedomradio.com. You're going to click the on-demand tab, and
then you're going to binge listen to hot contents, darling.
Perfect. See, he knows his cues.
Well, I didn't know there was going to be a test.
I know.
You didn't tell me there was a test today. It's nothing on the script that there's a test.
I sprung that on you.
I don't know.
I did spring that on you. And I have to say that we are kind of running on fumes today, because we've just been in Knoxville, Tennessee for the very first ever Gun Owners of America Goals event, which is their advocacy and leadership event. And so we had to get up at like 2:00 in the morning to get our flight. And so we're just a little bit fatigued. I shouldn't be springing tests on Dan on a day like this, right?
But you guys missed a really good event. They're going to do it again next year in Knoxville. You need to go, because the people we met, it was amazing.
It was amazing. The public that showed up, the other speakers that were there, the other organizations that are doing amazing work. I love the collaboration. All right. Until next time, what are we going to do, Dan? This isn't a test.
Oh, the deal about praying for our nation?
The deal about praying? It's a deal? Yes, that is.
Well, I don't know what it is.
We're going to pray for our nation. We're going to pray for our leaders and our elected officials.
There you go again.
Even the ones you don't like. See, I cleaned it up. I said leaders and elected officials.
Okay.
Right? Because Tyler's a leader.
Yes.
Right? So we're praying for Tyler.
Yeah.
But there are elected officials that people think of as our leaders.
But they think, no. The elected officials that are serving us are cool, but the ones that aren't think that they're the boss and the leaders. And
so they all need our prayers, right? So we're going to pray especially for the ones that we don't like. And until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
Bye-bye.